Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Enough! I get the point.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and today I'm going to review the newest comic book from writer Tom King, Strange Adventures. Joining him is his longtime collaborator, Mitch Gerads. Been with him since, I believe, Sheriff of Babylon. They did the Mr. Miracle miniseries that was much ballyhooed that I personally didn't like very much. You know, they've also worked together on Batman, and I believe he did 1 or 2 issues of Heroes in Crisis as well. Joining them this go-around is artist Evan Dockshainer, another accomplished artist in his own right. If you've been with the channel, since its inception, you probably know I'm not the biggest fan of Tom King. I thought his Heroes in Crisis series was absolute trash. I think his Batman series, basically starting around issue 46, 47, was horrendous. That's probably the right word. I thought Mr. Miracle was really boring, but had good art. That's the thing with a Tom King comic book. You can always count on the art team being top-notch. That's the one thing he really brings to the table better than anybody in the industry. When Tom King wants to write a comic book, he gets to collaborate with the creme de la creme, the best of the best on his comic books. Strange Adventures, starring Adam Strange, is a series and character I'm honestly not very familiar with. So if Tom King's characterization of Adam Strange is all over the place, if it's completely dead wrong, I don't know it, because I've never really read the character that much. So I am a fresh set of eyes. I am a new reader's perspective on this character and Tom King's take. When the series was announced leading up to it, there was word out from, I believe, King himself that Strange Adventures was going to be like a Trump allegory, or his, take on the Trump administration or his time as president, which definitely has my expectations through the basement. I couldn't expect anything less. Nothing could be more boring, less interesting to me than Trump allegory. Yes, I know that 90% of everyone in the entertainment industry appears to hate President Trump. And I'm willing to accept that. And I'm okay with that. I just wish maybe we could have a vote where if maybe 90% of all U.S. citizens acknowledged that the entertainment industry hated Trump, in exchange they would stop bitching about him, I think we would get that 90%. Because even people that don't like Trump have to be tired of that stuff by now. But the good news is, I don't really see any of that in this comic book. At least not yet. And I hate to disappoint, but if you came here to listen to me dissect this comic book and rip Tom King a new one, like I have done on very many other comic books of his, I don't love this comic book, but I certainly don't hate it. In fact, I recommend it. If you want to know why, I'm about to talk about it in today's comic book review. Strange Adventures is basically 2 different stories being interwoven together. One being Adam Strange on the planet of Rand, where he's fighting, trying to save the capital city from a Pict invasion, while trying to protect his wife, Alana, and his daughter, Elena. This one is illustrated by Dockshainer, and it's really good. It's probably the best art I've seen out of Dockshainer. I'd say he actually takes a step up in this comic book as far as visuals go. It's exciting, it's fun to watch, lots of cool, fun stuff going on. Tom King actually does a pretty good job here with dialogue, which isn't really one of his strong suits as far as I'm concerned, but it's got a lot of fun, campy dialogue that you would expect, from a 1950s, 1960s adventure series or adventure show. Obviously, a callback to the original Strange Adventures series. And I enjoy this part of the story. It's fun to read, but it's certainly working its way towards something of a big reveal that's going to interlace in with the story that's going on in current times, which I'm about to get to. Definitely not the most in-depth or complex plot as far as this part of the story goes, and there's nothing mind-blowing in here, but, it's good fun. Now, the much more interesting story takes place on Earth in modern time and is illustrated by Mitch Gerads, Tom King's longtime, creative partner. Adam Strange is on Earth. He's being celebrated as the hero of Rand, and he's releasing his new book titled Strange Adventures by Adam Strange. One of the biggest complaints I have with Tom King is he always seems to interlace himself into the characters of the heroes, and the adventures or story always seem to be centered around something about Tom King, rather than the hero or the characters in the story. And that's certainly present here. It's very meta. Everything that happens on Earth in modern times is very self-aware. You can definitely tell that there's a lot of Tom King in this. Of course, Adam Strange is a writer. He's got a book signing. He's a war hero. We see here one of his biggest fans is coming to get an autograph. And I can completely relate to this scene to a point. And I'll explain that right now. He's thanking Adam for his service, obviously talking about his service in war. And then, at the end, he's like, that must have been real cool, right? As a 20-year service member myself who did serve downrange, I wouldn't say these types of encounters are uncomfortable. I certainly never had them at a book signing. I've never written a book. But, you do have people coming up and thank you for your service, maybe asking you how your time was when you were in Afghanistan. And it never made me uncomfortable, but I never really wanted to talk about it. And, you kind of have to sit there with a smile and just say, it was fine, it was good, because you really can't talk about it. I can't really tell anybody any of the stuff I really did, because it's all, I'm sworn to secrecy. And then people aren't going to want to know the stuff I can talk about, because a lot of it was kind of gross or really boring and mundane. So really the only people that can relate to my stories are people, maybe that were there with me or who had also served downrange as well. So I can completely relate, with Tom King and Adam Strange here with this encounter. I never enjoyed it myself either. Apparently at the same book signing, this very angry man comes up and he says he knows about the pics and what he did. He's a liar, he's scum, saying people are dead, they were tortured, left in cages because of what Adam Strange did on Rand. And of course, being a very meta story, we have everybody with their cell phones, capturing the moment of this guy freaking out on Adam Strange, so it'll go viral on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the new social media cycle, which is 24/7, 365, in hopes of getting the most outrage clicks for your video, for your story. Very much a commentary on that. There's a lot of social commentary, really, in this comic book that I think is pretty good, very accurate, stuff that I think needs to be talked about. But where this also rolls into the story is this man right here that you see who's very angry ends up dead from a laser blast to the face. Now, how many people on Earth have lasers that would want to blast this dude in the face and shoot his head off? We can only think of one, of course. And so while the U.S. government is rolling out the red carpet for Adam Strange and he's giving speeches, he's being inundated with questions about this man whose head is missing from a laser blast and whether he had something to do with it. His wife is by his side the entire time. But the video and story has gone viral. Everyone knows about it. Everyone wants to ask questions about Adam Strange. Everyone's questioning his wife about what he did, whether or not he was, in fact, a war criminal on Rand. Things of that nature. Adam and his wife deny all claims. They proclaim their innocence. And Adam decides to put it to the test. He goes to Batman himself. So this is absolutely within the DC universe. Although this is Elseworlds, but the DC heroes do exist here. So you have to assume Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, all of them are also alive and well in this universe. He gives him his laser, and he says, you're the world's greatest detective. Investigate this. I want you to run me through the ringer and show that I'm innocent. And Batman can't do it. He says, you know what? We're friends. People will think I'm biased. They would never believe me anyway. And he says, can you find somebody else that's as smart as you that can do the detective work to look into this and prove that I'm innocent? Now, the skeptic in me says, he's proclaiming too hard this is a comic book, he must be guilty. Just because he is turning the laser over, it means he must have shot that man in the face, blown his head off, and he's likely a war criminal. And there is this interesting bit of art here from Mitch Gerads. This is probably my favorite page in the entire comic book. We can see half of Adam Strange's face is blacked out. Normally when you see something like that in a story, like a picture in a story or within a movie where you're seeing half of a face blacked out, it kind of means lying. Or maybe they're being manipulative. Well, I think Tom King and Mitch Gerads are trying to manipulate me now. He's clearly innocent. He isn't lying. So I know what you know, what they know, what I know. It's clear. Well, nothing's clear. But it is an interesting story. It's a whodunit. I'm actually quite surprised that Tom King went back to a murder mystery, considering how badly his last murder mystery went. I think Heroes in Crisis did a lot of long-term damage to Tom King. So he is going back to a murder mystery. A little bit surprised there. But it is interesting so far. The last thing I want to talk about in this comic book is another bit of symbolism that we see throughout. And it's this picture of Adam Strange, his wife Alana, and his daughter Alina. At first, I thought this was a blood-spattered picture. But the more I look at it, I think that's actually confetti from when he apparently saves the capital city of Rand from the Picts, and frees the planet, which we know does happen. So my assumption is that his daughter is alive when that moment happens. This is confetti of them at the celebration. I imagine we're going to see this moment in the comic book. But you see him take the picture and he places it down so we can no longer see the photo of him, his wife, and his daughter. Now, obviously, Adam Strange is in the story. Obviously, his wife is in the current times. We've seen her multiple times, but we never saw his daughter. So I'm assuming this means that she is no longer with us, that the daughter has somewhere along the lines perished, but probably not in the war, because I do believe that this picture is them at the celebration for the liberation of Rand. So it is a Tom King comic book. What would it be if it wasn't dark and depressing? I'm pretty certain that we're going to learn how his daughter died. Perhaps Adam Strange himself accidentally played a part in it, or he feels guilty about it. But that's something to look out for. That's certainly the way I took the symbolism. You see this picture throughout the comic book, and when he places it down, that's kind of the way I took it. So overall, just talking about this comic book, I'll rate the art like a 4.5 out of 5. Mitch Gerads absolutely kills it. Doc Shaner does a great job as well with the images and adventure story on Rand. As far as the characterization goes, I'll give that a 4. It's pretty good. It feels right. I enjoy the story. But there are certainly way more mysteries and answers in this book. And I definitely think the dialogue in the current times on Earth isn't all that great. Just my opinion. As far as the plotting goes, I'll give that a 3.5 out of 5. Kind of all over the place. I don't like it when Tom King does this pulp fiction style storytelling. I don't think he's very equipped to do it well. I don't think he is a very good storyteller when it comes to putting the pieces all together at the end and then making one coherent story. But those are just my feelings about the plotting in this story. And it's certainly not the most briskly paced comic either, let's be honest. Now, if someone gave me a pen and said, Wes, you can write a story for DC Comics with Adam Strange, would I have made a focal point of the story, a book signing and angry customers? Probably not. But that's just me. I probably would have made it, a straight adventure story. I think he is trying to tell something here. Will this be a Trump allegory in the end? Probably. I don't know why anybody would lie about that. Certainly not the author. I don't see it here yet. Is there too much Tom King in the story? Probably. But I haven't got enough of the story yet, to put all the pieces together for this very depressing narrative that he is likely to be constructing in this story. I can only take the comic for what it is. There's only one issue, and the issue that is here is good. It's pretty good quality. The art's great, and the story's fine. Will it get worse? I think it will, but I don't know that for certain. This is definitely a recommend, a 4 out of 5 in my opinion. Not a highly recommend, because I think he will let us all down in the end, but it's certainly a recommend. This is a perfectly fine comic book. Not the most, engaging or exciting comic book, but a good comic book nonetheless. Very well executed, and I'm actually looking forward to issue 2. Maybe when he starts giving some answers and the mystery grows, that'll actually really, pull me in there and be even more exciting. I don't think that's going to happen, but I will be sticking around to see what happens in the next issue or 2. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.